Have you ever wished you could just turn off that constant loop of negative thoughts that takes over your mind every time you make a mistake? Imagine being able to replace negative thoughts instantly and break free from overthinking, and doing it with the same mental hacks used by top performers and achievers. If you're tired of replaying the same errors or criticisms in your head, today's your breakthrough moment. If you're ready to stop overthinking and outsmart your own negativity, make sure you subscribe to the Growth Mindset Project and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can catch all the newest tools and techniques to take control of your mind and your life. Let's get right into it. First, let's confront the biggest myth floating around, the idea that self-punishment is discipline. Most people striving for self-improvement secretly believe that beating themselves up is somehow virtuous or productive. I used to think the same way. If I'm hard enough on myself, I'll never mess up again. But here's the truth. Self-punishment isn't discipline. It's actually the sneaky enemy of discipline. Think about it. The most successful people don't recover by wallowing in regret for weeks or months. They bounce back after setbacks in minutes. Why? They have a system to replace negative thoughts and get back in the game fast. Let me paint a picture. Not too long ago, I lost an important opportunity because I reacted defensively in a meeting. Instead of trying to make things right, I spent 3 days ruminating in negativity, pacing around with anxiety, and criticizing myself for failing. But something interesting happened. During a conversation with someone I trust, they stopped and said, "So, instead of fixing this or moving forward, you just spent 3 days feeling sorry for yourself?" That sentence was like a reset button. I realized I was making it all about me. My self-punishment wasn't helping anyone. It was robbing my work, my goals, and my loved ones of the version of me they needed. High standards are powerful, but negative self-talk and mental self-harm are useless. Next time you stumble, ask yourself, do you want to just feel better, or do you actually want to get better? They're not the same. Next, let's talk about shame versus accountability. This distinction right here is a cornerstone for anyone determined to replace negative thoughts with something more productive. Learn to speak two different internal languages. Shame says, "I'm broken." Accountability says, "This thing is broken. How can I fix it?" Same situation, but notice how one makes you shrink into yourself and the other empowers you to take action. Here's an example. I once completely missed an important call. Not late, not rescheduled, just gone. The old me would have spent days convinced that I was incompetent, unworthy, maybe even irreparably flawed. But the new me immediately switched into what I call scientist mode. What system failed? Was it my schedule, my planning? Within 20 minutes, I'd set up a new system for double confirming key commitments and preparing in advance. Accountability isn't about attacking your identity. It's about improving your process. The next time you make a mistake, check your internal dialogue. Are you cross-examining yourself like a harsh prosecutor, or are you investigating like a curious scientist? If you catch yourself in prosecutor mode, stop right there. Switch to scientist, and maybe even write it down so you can view it objectively instead of recycling harsh judgments. Now for my go-to mental hack, the 4 A's. Whenever something blows up or goes sideways, you need a protocol to replace negative thoughts with clear, actionable responses. The 4 A's framework is my mental emergency plan. Acknowledge, analyze, adjust, advance. Acknowledge. Simply admit what happened. Don't exaggerate, don't minimize. We all make mistakes. You're not broken for being human. Analyze. Zoom in with precision. What exactly went wrong? Was it timing, preparation, expectations? Often, it's one small detail missed, not your entire character or competence at stake. Adjust. Ask yourself, what is the minimum viable change? Big disasters usually require small course corrections, not a total life overhaul. Patch the leak, don't rebuild the whole boat. So if you snapped at someone, don't rewrite your identity as a terrible person. Just decide not to use those words again. Advance. Here's the magic. Ask, now what? Instead of dwelling and spinning in regret, focus on the next step. What are you going to do with what you learned? When you advance, you pull your mind into the present and future, away from the endless replay of mistakes. If this is already shifting your perspective, hit that like button and drop a comment sharing which step hits home for you or how you've outsmarted negativity. It means the world to us and brings the community together around these powerful mindset tools. Let's keep going. Top performers aren't those who never fail. They're the ones who recover the fastest. This brings me to a simple genius rule, the 24-hour rule. Here's how the best handle setbacks. Instead of endlessly dissecting what went wrong, giving oxygen to negative thoughts, they allow themselves a specific window, 24 hours, to process the emotion, analyze, and move on. No matter how big or small, you get 24 hours to learn from it, then push forward. I learned this from someone highly experienced in leadership and resilience who made a costly mistake, yet only allowed 24 hours to process it before focusing on the next opportunity. Think about that. Every hour you spend reliving yesterday, trapped in negativity, is an hour you're not building your next win. Most of us think prolonged suffering equals productive learning. In reality, lingering on mistakes keeps your brain in survival mode, stifling your ability to perform at your best. Instead, set a timer, literally, for 24 hours. Feel it, process it, decide what you'll do differently, then let it go. Pretty soon, you might only need a few minutes before you're able to move on and take productive action. Quick reminder, if this video is giving you new tools to replace negative thoughts and stop overthinking, hit like, subscribe, and share your aha moment below. It helps us reach more like-minded people focused on growth. Now, maybe you've made great progress replacing negative thoughts, but notice how difficult it is to make big decisions when you're emotional. When you're in the heat of anger, fear, or frustration, your mind is as clouded as if you were intoxicated. This is why I use the emotional weather check. If you feel urgency to decide right now, or you're tense, stressed, jaw clenched, take your hands off the wheel. Postpone major decisions. Wait until you're calm, content, and clear. Urgency is usually a red flag. Big, rushed decisions made under hot emotions usually turn out to be poor choices. One of the greatest things you can do for your mindset is practice waiting until your internal weather has shifted before acting. A tired, stressed, or anxious mind is the worst kind of counsel. Give it 24 to 48 hours if needed. Come back to the issue with a composed mind. You'll almost always realize the solution was simpler than it seemed in the moment, and you'll naturally silence those negative thoughts that convince you everything's doomed. Here's a hard truth. Setbacks will never stop. You'll mess up again, maybe even later today. But the real question isn't whether you can be perfect. It's whether you recover like a champion or stay stuck in self-criticism and negativity like the rest. The power to replace negative thoughts and end overthinking is something you can learn and train. These frameworks, cutting out self-punishment, separating shame from accountability, using the 4A's, the 24-hour rule, and practicing emotional weather checks, are the blueprint. Ready to keep leveling up and rewiring your mind for success? Don't forget to subscribe, tap that bell, and check out the next video from the Growth Mindset Project, where you'll get even more strategies to replace negative thoughts and create the unstoppable version of yourself.